Talking about a career-defining moment beating John Cena. This is a career-making moment as well.
Took a crazy chance, and everybody should respect that. That said, what a giant leap that you just attempted to come in here with no martial arts experience and to take 2 years of training and to fight against a young, tough kid like that. You definitely chose the hard road, sir.
Yeah, you know, in life, you go big or you go home. I just like to take challenges. This was a hell of a mountain to try to climb, and I didn't get to the summit today, but that doesn't mean I'm going to give up. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop. I appreciate all the support from everybody. Obviously, Mickey's a hell of a fighter. I will be back, believe it or not. This was the most fun I've ever had in my life. Second best night of my life, besides marrying my wife, obviously. I know there's a lot of doubters, but listen, life's about, you know, falling down and getting up. It doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, it's about getting back up. So if there's any kid out there that's told by a parent or a coach or a teacher or somebody that they look up to, somebody that's supposed to push them and believe in them, and they're told no, don't listen to them. Believe in yourself. Sometimes the outcome isn't always what you desire it to be. But the true failure in life is not trying at all. I know that sounds preachy and kind of weird for a guy who just got beat up, but this is a time in my life. Thank you, Cleveland.
Here is your winner, and the new WWE World Champion, AJ Styles! We talked about a career-defining moment beating John Cena. This is a career-making moment as well.
What's going on, good people? This is the common man, Nate Lewis, back with a brand new comment take for... You know, I normally give these shows a title, but we're reviewing 2 shows tonight, so we'll just say over the weekend. I am joined by a very special guest. AJ is back. AJ, say hi to the people.
Sho-nuff!
Well, last time you were French, so that's a much bigger improvement than the last time. So we're
watching The Last Dragon, that's what happens.
Yeah, I can. What was that on? Were you watching like on demand, or was that on something?
No, I got it on DVD.
Gotcha. Oh God, I used to watch that show I think it used to come on like every Saturday when I was a kid. So I used to have all those things memorized. Anyway, getting off of that, before we get into everything, real quick, are you looking to make a change in your life? Are you happy with the way things are going? Could you gain weight? Are you looking to gain weight, lose weight, maintain weight, increase energy? Whatever the case may be, Herbalife is for you. I use Herbalife on a regular basis. I feel a definite change in my body. I am more energetic. I am slowly losing weight. Maybe I can get down to 170 and compete in the welterweight division myself, but I'm a little bit more realistic than that. Check out Herbalife. The details are in the description of the podcast, no matter what platform you are listening to. We are going to get started, though, talking about the event that just ended. WWE Backlash, the SmackDown, or the first brand split SmackDown pay-per-view. And just overall thoughts, AJ, what do you think of the show?
I liked it. I enjoyed it. There were a couple odd moments, but, you know, all in all, it was a good show. I'm kind of happy how everything turned out.
I really liked the show, too. And part of the reason, going into the card, there was only 6 matches announced. So you knew that this show would get plenty of time, and it was very... Other than the beginning, was very wrestling dominated with a couple of backstage segments here and there. But I really, really enjoyed the show. I thought the main event was fire. And we'll get to that. But I thought a really, really great show. So we can start with the beginning. Shane McMahon, Daniel Bryan. Well, actually, I should ask this. Did you check out the pre-show?
I started to watch it, then actually I had something to turn me off today. I noticed that on Lita, not to sound crass or anything, but it looked like she had makeup on her chest. Like they were trying to accentuate her chest more.
Hey, you know, as far as we can go with the women's revolution, evolution, whatever you want to call it, tits still sell.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately, I've gotten in the habit of not watching pre-shows, especially when they burn us out with the pre-shows for Mania and for SummerSlam. So at this point now, if there's anything good on the pre-show, typically they'll cover it within the pay-per-view. And I think the match was Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin. which, for what I've been reading, was a pretty solid match. It's just no plans for either guy. Let's throw them on the pre-show, that type of thing. So if you're looking for a review on that, and I'm sorry, I just didn't have the time. I was watching football, man. First week of football. But these
Yeah,
shows...
it wasn't a bad match.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, it wasn't a bad match. It wasn't a bad match or anything. I think with unfortunately with Corbin right now is Kalisto, who we were supposed to be feuding with, got hurt. So they pretty much had to scrap that whole thing.
Yeah.
Now they got him just in limbo.
Well, that's what happens, man. When you have injuries in WWE and you have storylines, even though we like to make fun of WWE for having, week to week flyby storylines, sometimes they actually do have plans for people, and those plans change, especially when injuries are coming about. But I'm pretty sure they'll get Corbin. I'm thinking we might see him. I hate to say it, I really do think we'll see him with Dolph again. I think that's the direction they might go, to kind of put him back in that IC title picture-ish, but not have him feud with The Miz. I think Dolph's the perfect guy for him.
I think that actually you might be able to switch that. I think Corbin should actually go through a whole thing where he should start teaming with Miz. Miz using them, and then you can slowly build up to where you have Corbin beat Miz. Because Miz right now, to my opinion, is the best in the WWE. Promo-wise, wrestling, everything. He's just on fire.
I actually tend to agree with you here. I actually said something about that on my last podcast. I have to plug it, but you should guys go check out my last podcast. I brought up that I thought The Miz and Maurice working together, just something is really, really working with those two together. Now, Miz may not be able to go out there and give you the best match on the card, but he, as you saw tonight, he's very capable of being able to keep up with whoever he's in the ring with. And with Maurice on his shoulder or on his arm too, I think that's an act that can really, really do something on the show. Now, as far as him and Corbin, I'm never mad when WWE decides to put a heavy with someone. So that might be something that could definitely work. But getting back to the show, we start off, Daniel Bryan and Shane come out basically to kill some time and welcome us to the show. Up first, we have I don't know if you want to call it a six-pack challenge, 6-woman elimination, but see if I can remember get all these names right. Becky Lynch versus Natalya versus Naomi versus Alexa Bliss versus Nikki Bella versus Carmella. Did I get them all?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
This match, I thought going in, and I mentioned this previously, I think the SmackDown Women's brand is right now is head and shoulders above the Raw brand in terms of depth. And each one of these women has a specific character trait. They all have personalities. They're all involved with each other in different ways. It actually feels like a division and not a one-woman show with rotating cast of characters.
Yes.
So going into this match, it being an elimination match, I knew the match would get time. Again, there's only 6 matches on the show, and I think we went a good, maybe 5 to 7 minutes with absolutely no eliminations, which I thought was great. Some people thought that this was stretching it out, but I loved it. First elimination, trying to find out who got eliminated first. That was Alexa Bliss.
Yes.
Yes, Bliss was the first one eliminated. I gotta mention, I might be glossing over some of the details in this match, but there were some spots in this match that I loved. I know the women always seem to do the Tower of Doom spot, but I loved it in this spot here. It just worked out so well, and they actually nailed it as opposed to one person going before someone else. But go ahead.
I like the match, but I gotta say something first off, and it's already what's gonna scare me for Halloween. I love Alexa Bliss. I think she looks fantastic, but she came out with the Harley Quinn look, which I know it's gonna be the Halloween costume for every chick.
You didn't like the Harley Quinn outfit?
It's just man, I'm just not feeling it.
Wait, that you had a problem with, but was the Naomi costume good for you? Because I thought that was hideous.
The problem with Naomi was her dance moves doesn't fit with her music.
No, it really doesn't. It really doesn't.
So
they just took her old one and sped it up. That's basically what
and she's still not doing
But all right, so let it be known AJ is not a fan of the Harley Quinn look on Alexa Bliss, and him and one other person in the world will agree with him. But definitely a solid match. They had some spots early. Basically, what they would do is two women would be in the ring. They find a way to dump the other ones out, and I don't know who in the group made this comment, but they almost made the comment that if this was a battle royal elimination, the match would have been over within the first 4 seconds. And then it'd have been over again in the next 10 seconds and 12 seconds and 15 seconds. They just kept throwing each other out of the ring. But yeah, Alexa Bliss, first one eliminated, which did not shock me at all.
But nice move. That was the powerbomb blockbuster move, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Trying to think who was next. It was Bliss was the first one eliminated, and then it was, I believe it was Naomi, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And that's after she hit this pretty killer dive, which she kind of went to go do the leap, and I kind of was fearful of her left leg as it looked like it caught Carmella right in the face. and here's a rule, ladies and gentlemen. If someone is diving at you, protect your face. That's probably a good way to go about that.
Or do like the Miz and just not catch them.
That'll work too. I mean, it won't make you fans. You won't have any fans backstage when you do that.
Well, if you ever notice, well, Miz always does that. He never catches anybody. I think he's hurting like 3 people just not catching them right.
Hey, but look, he's never been injured in all the time that he's worked. Okay, he plays it safe. He plays it safe. Up next was it was actually, I'm trying to remember this transition here, but Natalya was the next one eliminated, which really shocked me. I actually thought the end of this match would come down between Becky and Natalya, but Natalya was eliminated, and then really quickly after Nikki Bella got up, Carmella ran over, rolled her up, and got the pin, which also shocked me.
Yeah.
So, which I'm really kind of curious where this is leading. I'll just go ahead and finish the match. So we have Becky Lynch and Carmella left. They go back and forth. Alexa is on her back, and Carmella is standing over her. Kind of goes to reach for her head in this awkward position. Becky Lynch rolls over with a disarmer, taps out, and we have the first inaugural ever SmackDown Women's Champion, Becky Lynch.
Yes, I like that. She, out of all of them, really deserved it. The work she's put in, she deserves to be the face of the brand right now.
Absolutely. And like I said on the other show, it matches up well that she's the champ on one show and you got Charlotte the champ on the other show. It fits. And so I thought that was a beautiful way to go. I am still really shocked Carmella was that last one in there. And I don't know if it's a thing where they didn't want to give away maybe a future match between Becky and Nikki, or if they're really wanting to go with Nikki and Carmella. I'm not sure, but it was really surprising to see Carmella as one of the last two.
I was shocked too. I mean, truthfully, before the match started, I thought Nikki was going to win because they played her and Carmella had already made feud. So I figured, Nikki would win, and that would be the feud they would step into next over the title. I was surprised too that Carmella lasted long, though. I mean, no offense, I just don't see it in her.
It's not. There were some people who were floating around on Twitter and different Facebooks saying that it's pretty obvious that there's 4 workers in this match, and then Carmella and Alexa, which I thought was a little unfair. But I mean, if you look at it, yeah, those are two obviously the greener of the bunch. But especially Alexa early really, really surprised me. She didn't botch anything terribly. She was in position for everything. She hit a code red out of the corner, which I thought looked pretty good, all things considered. And I think, obviously, to me, Alexa has more of a brighter future than Carmella does. There's just something about Alexa, can't quite put my finger on it, that leads me to think she can really be a presence in the division. But I'm not going to sleep on Carmella either. She really stepped up towards the end, and it was a good match. It was a solid, good match. So up next, we had the tag team tournament semifinal. We had the Usos taking on my favorite team, the Hype Bros, Mojo, and I'm sorry, I do not like Mojo. I never try to dislike anyone in this profession, but the character Mojo Rawley works my nerves, and from all reports, Mojo the character is Mojo the person. So I do not like Mojo.
Yeah, that it just seems like he's either missed his medication and he's just going crazy with his ADHD, or I don't know what it is. But yeah, you're not the only one. Just something about him. He just, I don't know, that whole just thing just kind of irks me after a bit.
You know what it is? Is how they tell you that the best characters are the wrestlers themselves turned up to 10? He needs to turn himself down to like a 6. And then maybe it would be tolerable. And I don't want to harp too much on Mojo here because typically he's a horrible, horrible worker. Tonight he was passable, so I'll give him that. But just when I knew the matchup going in, I see the Usos come out, and by the way, Usos with a new look.
Yes.
Same music, but new look. What do we think about the new look?
No more jumping around. No more, when I say Us, you say, no more of that. It's just more of a badass type look.
Yeah, kind of like when they first debuted. If people remember a long time ago when they came in with Tamina, it was just kind of like and I think if I'm trying to remember what the gimmick back then was. They were coming in, they acknowledged that their lineage, but they were saying we're college educated, we're gonna take this, and it was kind of more of just a straight laced gimmick. And I think at this point now, I love the Usos as a team. I think the gimmick change was needed. I thought the look was cool. I thought the fact that the announcers brought up that they weren't doing these things was good as well. They just got to change the music. To me, anyway. They have to change the music.
Well, from what I understand, at one point, the idea with the Usos, what they were going to do with them was they were going to bring them up and kind of like if you look at the show, how the show Empire is with the rap moguls and how the people are there, they're intelligent, but they're still kind of gangster-like.
Exactly.
But that's, that's what they're going to bring up. Like, they were intelligent people, but they're not going to take no crap.
And it's something that would obviously work, and I think it would work for them also. So I like the change. The match,
yep.
I don't want to spend too much time on this match. This match was fine. Ryder got worked over quite a bit. They went for the same move that they put out the Chad Gable with. And I really don't want... I'm sorry. Mojo just really ruins everything for me. There was a spot... that fucking spot where he comes barreling around the corner and bowls over both Usos. And I literally, in the group, said, did we not just lose a world champion for taking a fucking bump into the barricade? And when I saw this, I'm like, I swear to God, if he took out both guys, I just... Ugh. And keep in mind, people, I said he was fine in this match. And yet he still found a way to work my nerves. Usos get the win. I have nothing else to say about it.
Nope. I just feel bad for Ryder, man.
Yeah.
I just got to feel for the guy.
I do. And, Ryder used to have the gimmick of he was the guy who just wasn't getting a break, wasn't getting on TV. The fans wanted him. And he lost that spot, too. Heath Slater has that spot.
Yeah.
Which I guess Heath Slater's turning that one over, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. In case you're keeping up, I did skip over a segment before the tag match. I did that on purpose, but I just want to acknowledge whoever that little kid was in that Miz sketch, whatever show he's on, he needs to be fired. Okay, you're an actor. He would, hey, you doing, Miz? So, it's like taking breaks every third word. It's like, dude, you got like 4 lines. It's not this hard. And who is this kid? I didn't even bother looking him up.
His name's or he's on some sort of Jagged something. But here's the best part. You missed it on the pre-show. Renee interviews him, and they're asking him what he's doing, what he likes. And he goes, "Oh, we're working on this thing with Miz right now. We're gonna do something. We're gonna see if we do something with him." This is before everything else happened.
Jesus Christ!
It's like, yeah, yeah, that was the Nickelodeon stuff. Just needs to go away.
And look, I don't mind cross promotion, and WWE is a PG show, so the Nickelodeon audience is something that they want to pull from. I mean, hell, John Cena was a host on one of their shows. I'm completely fine with that. But this shitty kid,
yeah, that was horrible. That was bad.
I want to say there's so much to say about this kid, but I need to move on. Just look, if you go back and you're watching this show after this review, the second you see Miz backstage, just fast forward. Just fast forward and enjoy life. We get a ambush segment right after the I believe it was before the tag match actually. Bray Wyatt beating up on Randy Orton, so thus taking Orton out of a match later on. Now I've heard rumors, I'm not sure if all this is verified, but I heard the rumors earlier today that Orton was not going to be cleared for tonight. I've been looking up to see if I can find more to the story. I really haven't, so I'm not sure if this is still stemming from Lesnar, if this is just a work. I'm not entirely quite sure.
You got a question too, because I mean, what injury would keep him out of any kind of match thing? And you're thinking, is it concussions?
That's my first thought too, and then I'm also thinking at the same time, if this was the case, why book this match in the first place? Like if you're setting up a pay per view and you don't know a guy's still going through a concussion protocol or whatever injury he has, why book a match in the first place that you're not going to deliver?
Yeah.
But that's just me.
No, I agree.
So after that, we get a backstage segment, and this is really, really interesting. Me and you have not got a chance to really talk about this. So backstage, before the Intercontinental title match, in a segment, or I guess a backstage segment that I found so interesting considering everything you're hearing online, Miz and Maurice are getting ready to head towards the ring. Daniel Bryan steps up, and Miz thinks this is the opportune time to renegotiate his contract. And you can just see the anger that brushes across Daniel Bryan's face. And Miz is just twisting the knife as he goes, saying, "You can stand back here as I go out there and do something you can't do." At that point, you can just hear the crowd rumbling. According to all types of rumors you heard, apparently after the Talking Smack segment, these two were not supposed to be on camera again together, which I thought was bullshit when I heard it. And so this is, I guess, I don't know, sometimes the WWE does things just to kind of just mess with the dirt sheets, kind of, get in their crawl when they report something. WWE comes back and will do a segment like this where it's just like, say you guys don't know what you're talking about. But for them to go back to this has to lead to something.
But I'm afraid it's probably not going to lead to what everybody's hoping it's going to lead to.
Yeah, obviously everybody's hoping for a match between the two, and I don't think you actually need to do that to pay this off. There's so many ways you can go about doing this, but me personally, I think it's just something as simple as Daniel Bryan just picks the next opponent for Miz and he's in his corner. It can really be that simple.
Yeah, I mean, but they got to pick the right opponent too, because I guess they tried to do it with Dolph, and truthfully, the feud. I mean, Dolph's great in the ring, but everything else was not that good with him.
Well, Dolph's got his own issues here, and they kind of harped on that, and it kind of flowed beautifully into the match, and I'll get to that here in a moment, but I guess we can't. Obviously, I mean, if you listen to the Brian Alvarez's podcast, Wrestling Observer, it's one of the best podcasts. Check it out. Even listen to that before you listen to mine. I'm gonna just be straight honest with that. Daniel Bryan cannot take any type of bump. There was a suggestion brought up to him about maybe just one. He does the flying knee, cost Miz the title. There's absolutely no way Daniel Bryan can take a bump right now. So that kind of just takes that aspect out of it too. I just think that having his representative defeat Miz is probably the best way you can sort of pay this off. Although he's still the commissioner of the brand, so I don't know. I hope they come up with something here.
Like they're gonna have like a little thing, and then Shane's gonna have to step in. Then there's gonna be like a little idea, like hey, you can't be treating him like this.
It's got to be something, because at the end of the day, you still have one authority figure and someone who isn't, and we're not talking Steve Austin and Vince McMahon here. So, but that'll lead us right into the match: Miz versus Dolph Ziggler. And I said this on my last show. I have watched Miz and Dolph Ziggler wrestle close to 10 times, maybe more. These two, they're friends, obviously. They grew up in the same city. These two, for whatever reason, as many people as Dolph has wrestled, as many people as Miz has wrestled, and they wrestled people way better than the other, these two work together fantastically. I love this match. Everything about this match. I love the Maurice interference at the end. I love just Dolph selling his knee, even though he would sell it for maybe 30 seconds and then, do 50 laps around the ring. I love Miz doing a callback to the figure 4 leg lock. Remember that when Ric Flair was, I love that callback. There was a sequence in the match I want to talk about, because this was right when I was going, like, this is a good match, but it hasn't escalated yet. Miz runs into the post, shoulder first, and I mean runs into this post. There is a loud thwack when he hits this post. Dolph goes for another famouser in the corner, which is really stupid if you think about it. just conceptually, you would try to hit this move in this position. Miz catches him up on the shoulders, springs him off the top rope, and a sit-down powerbomb for a near fall. I popped big for that spot.
I loved it too. It's marvel sometimes because, like I said, Dolph can, when he gets in the ring, he can sell. It makes everything look beautiful.
Yeah, and he really does have the ability to take a really good bump. I don't know. I'm not sure how that's going to favor him later in life when he's done, and tries to do normal things like go check the mail. But the guy can bump his ass off. He also throws one hell of a drop kick. And I know when you bring up drop kicks, people get really triggered by bringing up drop kicks because then you have to mention Okada or AJ Styles right now in the WWE is AJ Styles 1 and Dolph 2, maybe even 1B. I love his drop kicks.
Don't sleep on Orton either.
Yeah, I guess so. Orton's a tall guy. He's a big guy. Yeah, absolutely.
And then Cesaro with that corner dropkick thing where he has the guy up on the corner.
Oh yeah. Oh well, okay. Look, Cesaro doesn't count. Cesaro's a freak. Cesaro's just a freak athlete. But going through the match, I mean this match, basically it was Miz was working over Dolph's knee for quite a bit. After the shoulder post, Dolph attempted to work over the shoulder, but at the end they were just exchanging big moves. At one point, Dolph gets caught in the ropes. Maurice sprays something in his eyes. Miz hits the Skull Crusher finale for the win. And going back to what we said about Dolph and kind of how his position is on the card, Dolph the character needed a win tonight, but I love the Miz act. So it's almost like, what do you do with this? And I thought this is the best way to keep everybody strong. You still get the Miz with the title, which that title is important to his act, but at the same time, Dolph couldn't really afford a loss, but this loss kind of saves him. I thought this was all well done.
It was nice, and I loved the spot at the end. I mean, it reminded me of Sherry Martel. Maurice on the outside sprayed that stuff in his eyes. He got blinded. Well, now what I was wondering is, could that be the catalyst that maybe Daniel Bryan gets involved with? Somebody to help Dolph, a female, somebody close to Daniel Bryan.
I have no idea who you're talking about. You're talking about somebody he's at his home or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, that would be interesting. I don't know if they would do a tag based off of that or just have her in a corner, but that might be a good suggestion. I kind of like that. You playing matchmaker over there?
No, I'm trying. Somebody has to.
But
I like the Miz's aggressiveness during the match too.
Yes.
Like he was just, you saw it, you felt like he was just wanting to hurt Dolph and just put him out for good.
Oh yeah, and it calls back again to that Talking Smack segment of Miz being called a coward. The pre-match video that they had was all about Miz being called a coward, and this was his chance to come out there and really show him. And I think I really try to tune out Otunga because I'm pretty sure Otunga said this. I mean, he said something later on. He said something earlier when he said that Nikki Bella may be the greatest women's champion in history, and I almost vomited violently in my mouth. But he said it after the match where he said, Miz got the win, but this doesn't really do anything to disprove his claims of being a coward. Something along that effect, and I thought it was really well done. Announcing's important, ladies and gentlemen. So if the announcers can get over a segment, it really does work. After this, we'll leap into Bray Wyatt comes out, does this whole scary thing. Yeah, oh boy. Let me just power through this. So, actually, you know what? You go ahead.
Well, let's talk about Bray's look for a second too. To me, what was he? Seattle hipster or something? Should he be at a Starbucks playing a guitar?
You know what? I thought that, and then I also thought a little bit like, not so much with the Dre's, but just like what that accompanies me. You remember the movie Clueless? I'm trying to think of this guy's name, Breckin Meyer. For whatever reason, I just thought Breckin Meyer when I saw him. and then there was a little bit of Andy Samberg doing a Rasta Love song. Like all that was like playing in my head. I don't know if he's just trying something new. I prefer just his fitting extra wet hair. I think that works for him, but he's trying something new. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
But Bray comes out. He does the standard, my opponent's not here, I want a 10 count. Ref starts to count. Again, I always love when we have to get the actual, all the attention gets on the referee counting to 10. Because I'm waiting for one of those days where the referee calls the same number twice or skips a number. But thankfully, he's a professional. We got the 10. And it's announced that Bray Wyatt will be competing in a no-holds-barred match against the Demon Kane, who is still not wearing my fucking tights that I bought for him. I'm still pissed about that. I mean, it was great that we got so many people. There's a lot of people that put a lot of thought and effort into that campaign. You could at least on TV burn my damn tights. I know you got them.
Yeah, that match, I get, why they made the no holds bar and everything, but what gets me is, once again, why is Bray losing?
Because this company does not know what they're doing sometimes.
Well, the best I can figure out is maybe Vince got Bray and Bo Dallas confused because Bo won on Monday night. Maybe he thought Bray was singing Lion King songs, and that's why he did it.
If Bo keeps going in the trajectory he is, they will be the exact same size.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe that's what it was. But, oh, man. Look, people, there's not much to this match. When you have a Kane match, and I know Tom Lawler's a huge Kane fan. Tom, if you're listening to the show, no, these Kane matches are never good, man. I'm sorry. I don't care. When I hear Kane's music, when I hear the name Kane, I instantly fall asleep. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Kane. He's had okay matches in the past. He's been here forever. He's a name. I know he's a nice guy. Love the guy to death. I'm over Kane.
Well, he has that. He can sell insurance now. That's what he should be doing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. To kind of go back to why Bray. I have no idea why there was a need to. I guess the only reason is just simply they wanted to have that Orton run in. Orton runs in at the end, RKO's at Wyatt. Maybe that's just what it was. It was just hey, we kind of got backed up in this position because we didn't think this out when we booked this match. So we can go ahead and have Bray lose, which Bray losing, I mean, Bray's one of those people that a loss doesn't really affect him that much as it does other people, but I don't like the idea of him losing either.
Especially when he basically could be your top heel on SmackDown.
I'm still liking the AJ Styles movement here, man.
Oh. Well, yeah. I just wish AJ would lose the soccer mom haircut, but...
You know what? People need to stop hating on his conditioner game. You know what? if that's what him and his wife thinks is hot and what's popping in the streets, I do not fault Styles for that haircut. Now, I will say that, if his back was turned and he was wearing a large T-shirt, people might get confused. But, hey, it is what it is. But anyway, like I said, Orton runs in. Kane gets the win. Not much to say here. We'll see what happens with Orton going forward. Like I said, I'm not sure if that was just a work not cleared or if it's an actual not cleared. If he's actually not cleared and it stems from that SummerSlam incident, people need to back up off of Punk. That's all I'm going to say. Because
can I just interject for?
Yeah.
Interject for a second. Speaking of SummerSlam, oh my God, Chris Jericho is my hero. Anybody has the balls to stand up to Brock, you're number one.
This man has gone after Goldberg. He's gone after Brock. I would not shame him. You know what? It's funny you bring it up. I brought this Shayna Baszler, Queen of Spades. Shayna Baszler has a Twitch account, and she was on there one night, and this was I think the night after that story came out. And Shayna's in good with a lot of the pro wrestlers, and I brought up how was Jericho doing in the UFC, and she answered like me and him talked about that, and he said he would be the human punching bag. And I said, kind of close to Terry Martin? She said, exactly. So Jericho's a tough guy. He'll get it. He's not afraid to back down. But people don't get this confused that he can parlay this into a UFC career, which...
Yeah, we'll talk about him later.
We'll talk about that later. Up next, I'm trying to think, did we have another backstage segment? I don't think we did. We had the finals of the Tag Team Championship tournament. Usos versus everyone's new favorite tag team, Heath Slater and Rhino. Earlier in the night, Renee did an interview, and I'm determined to believe that the writing staff for this company is writing for Vince these trailer jokes just to make Vince laugh. Slater can pull these off, but they're so childish. They're so childish. Basically, they're doing the interview. He tells Renee, "Thank you for coming," whatever, and they're still in the exact same spot for some reason. Heath thinks that the cameras are off and no one's around to hear him, as he says he may have a case of the bubble guts from some food he ate earlier and that he needed to win the match. Meanwhile, Rhino is fastly becoming one of my favorite heavies ever because he's standing there stone-faced listening to him, but trying to get across to Heath, everyone's still here, just with a slight head nod. And segment ends when Heath apparently shits himself, and we cut away. And Rhino goes back to talk to Renee, and Renee takes off as well. I don't know if we're supposed to think Renee also shit herself, or if she just left just because it's Rhino. I'm not sure where that end joke was supposed to go, but yeah, we got that earlier in the show, and this stuff's got to be written for Vince.
Yeah, it was, like I said, Rhino was awesome in that because like he just sat there, had a face, didn't say nothing. Like he was great. And I love his shirt. I love the guy running for office.
Have you seen his ads? His ads awesome.
With Kurt Angle?
Yes. This ad is awesome. Folks, if you have not seen this, just YouTube it, Google it. Rhino's running for office, obviously, in his home state. Is this in Michigan?
Yeah, it's Dearborn, Michigan, I believe.
Got it. Yeah, go check this out. That ad is awesome. Getting back to the tag match. Usos again come out. Rhino and Heath Slater come out. Slater is over like crazy. The match itself wasn't anything too particularly special, but still a very well-worked match. They worked over Heath for the majority of it. Rhino gets the hot tag. Rhino runs wild. Kind of gets cut off, knocked back in the corner. Heath then tags back in. Usos get the jump on him. He knocks down. Look, anybody who can tell you they know the difference between Jimmy and Jay Uso is a fucking liar. Because I really tried tonight. I really tried. I was waiting for the announcers to help me out so I can distinguish between the two. Because they have a new look now. One of the guys looked like Roman Reigns, wearing a shirt and shorts. And the other one's without a shirt. So I really tried, but I still couldn't. Heath lays one out on the apron, eats a super kick. Rhino hits the spear. The crowd is willing Slater to roll over and make the cover. He does. New tag team champions, Heath Slater and Rhino. What'd you think of the match?
That was a decent match, nothing great and everything. It was nice to see them, I kind of hoped, Heath was going to win and everything. I'm a little worried because I know how WWE is. Like, they'll end up having them drop the titles on SmackDown right away. Just, thinking in the storyline, he got his job, so it's all good. But, yeah, the crowd was loving Heath, man. It's
everything about Heath somewhat, so for some reason this crowd really loves. And it's hard really not to like the guy. I was thinking this before we went on here. Is Heath the very last person from Nexus still employed with the company?
Well, Daniel Bryan, technically.
Still wrestling actively. It's just Heath at this point. Let me think. Yeah.
Right back on, yeah.
Right back on. Yeah. He's the last one left. So he's been on TV for years at this point, and he has been displayed as every type of joke imaginable. But the guy comes across as really likable, other than some of his personal issues, which we will not discuss. Comes across as really likable, so I mean the fans easily got behind this guy. It's a nice win. The post-match speech. I'll let you handle the post-match speech.
No, it's all you, man.
So, I like to call her SmackDown generic announcer comes in. She's interviewing. Afterwards, they're celebrating with the tag belts. And Heath mentions that this is the greatest night of his life, other than the few of his kids being born. I like that line so much because he didn't say all, he didn't say one, he said a few. So some of these kids' nights, or some of his kids being born may have been better than this night's, but a few of them weren't. Just to distinguish that, make of that what you will. And then he shouts out, Beulah, we're getting a double wide. I love this so much. And I probably love as I love it way more than I should. I'm not gonna lie.
How can you not? Like I said, look what he's done since he left Nexus. He had that whole year run where he was putting over legends, come out each week, beat them up.
Yeah.
Then he started the one-man band, and he went to the three-man band. People enjoyed it. I mean, yeah, they didn't get out, they weren't pushed there, but they got, people enjoyed it. Everybody leaves. He has this whole free agent thing. People got behind him.
You're forgetting one of the best things about Heath Slater's run. Slater Gator, man.
Oh, Slater.
Slater Gator.
Well, after Titus's last few promos, I tend to forget everything about him.
God. I gotta ask this. Getting off topic. Do you think there's any chance, just because WWE is just wanting to see how bad they can beat a dead horse, Tyson and Darren at the pay-per-view? Do you think there's any chance they'll just put that on just to fuck with people?
Oh, God. I hope not. But they need filler.
Or they need that bumper kind of in between the main event. But I'm fearful of that because you might put the whole audience to sleep.
Okay.
So we got. Go ahead.
Getting off topic, thing about Slater. I know.
It happens. So that takes us to the main event: AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose for the WWE. They change this every week. Is it the WWE World Heavyweight Championship or is it just the WWE Championship? They seem to. I hear both all the time. I'm just gonna call it the WWE Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah. To me, it's still WWE Championship. That's just.
Either way. This match, oh my God. Folks, I try to do my best to give you moments or sequences in matches that are great, that are standout, that make you want to go and check these out. However I review this or go over these matches will not do this justice. Dean really, really, to me, badly needed to have a great performance. His last couple of performances on big stage and SmackDown and pay-per-views they've disappointed me a little bit. So he really needed a big one, and he had the perfect dance partner tonight, and it really should. This match was just phenomenal.
Yes, I only had one problem with the match, and it was Dean. When AJ worked him over with the calf crusher a couple of times, had him in that hold. Right after that, Dean gets up. He's running around, not selling the leg.
See, Dean and Dolph both have that, where it's every match has a point where a limb gets worked, and your limb gets worked, and then you pretty much you do your comeback and you go to the finish. Some of these guys, though, they're in such long matches, and they have the heat, they do their comeback, and then there's a cutoff, and then there's another comeback. Particularly with these main events, though, you kind of go back and forth towards the end, and they just don't sell, man. They just don't sell, and it's something that it used to really bother me. It doesn't bother me so much anymore. WWE's kind of at that point now where they want their stars to be able to do their moves that the fans know so that the fans can pop. I don't like that personally, but I've just kind of grown to deal with it.
But no, the match was fantastic. Like I said, phenomenal. I'm glad. I mean, AJ, what else can you say about him? The dude's won championships everywhere.
Everywhere.
I mean, he won in TNA, he won the NWA title, he won the Ring of Honor title, won in Japan. What can you say?
It's a perfect cap to his. If his career ended right now, there is no doubt he's in whatever Hall of Fame you want to put out there. Because he's proven it on every stage. And WWE, I posted this in the Cult of Kayfabe thread. 5 years ago, if you'd have said that AJ Styles would be on WWE television and winning the world title, like, how shocking is that, considering where we were a few years ago, that this happened?
Well, not only that, I mean, 5 years ago, you said Kevin Steen would be the Universal Champion.
Yeah, there you go. Or Nakamura is the NXT champion. Like, these things, just the main title champions we have in WWE right now, just not even just for these individual guys, but just for what perception has been for WWE and what they want from their champion for years now, that we have You know, a champion in Nakamura that doesn't speak the greatest of English and doesn't have the best bodybuilder body. Kevin Owens being Kevin Owens' size. And then AJ, who's, before the internet TNA run and then the New Japan run, was thought to be this guy that can't cut promos and was just kind of a bland guy who had good matches. And these three now are the faces of your company.
Yes.
It's awesome. It really is awesome. And again, people, this match, I know I'm kind of glossing. This match is great. Go out of your way to see, if you don't see any other match on this pay-per-view, which you should, there's some good ones on here, you have to watch this match.
Yeah, I would say it was a good pay-per-view. I give it like a 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. I'm trying to think what kind of rating system I want to use on here. I didn't know if I would steal Dave Meltzer's star rating or just go, out of 10s. But I'll go with that. We'll do out of 10s. I think I'll give this one an 8.5. I really love that main event. Really did. I would have. The Kane match almost put me to sleep, but I just block Kane out of my mind. That's what I do now. But yeah, definitely 8.5. Definitely worth to see. Definitely worth your $9.99. So check it out on the WWE Network at any time. It's about that time, isn't it?
Yep.
I've had a full day to think about this. Up next, we're gonna hit UFC 203. Okay.
You want to start at the bottom of the card, or you want to just go straight to who we're going to talk about?
Let's just get straight into who we're going to talk about. So, CM Punk makes his MMA debut Saturday against Mickey Gall. The fight went 2 minutes, 14 seconds. I should mention, Punk did come out to Cult of Personality, and Mickey Gall got to come out to Hey Mickey, which was cute in its way. And so I'm glad they got cleared. Fight starts, Punk gets very aggressive, goes across the cage, and it looks like he's setting up for, it looks like he's just going over for a cross, just a simple right cross, gets taken down immediately, gets beat up, mounted, gives up his back, he fights off one choke attempt, but gets neck cranked, and then gets choked out, taps out, 2 minutes, 14 seconds. That's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the reaction that people have had to what everyone pretty much thought this would be. Now, on my show, I stated flat out, I saw no way Punk was winning this fight. I gave him a puncher's chance because you give everybody a puncher's chance, but just realistically, there was no way I saw Punk winning this. I did get my prediction right. I did say it would end in the first round. And that's what I expected. There are people floating around here, and I normally don't let what stupid people say bother me, but they're treating this loss from Punk like he was in there with some schmuck or someone who didn't know what they were doing and he just got blitzed. There are other people who are obviously weren't Punk fans to begin with as a pro wrestler and as a man who took unusually great joy out of this destruction. There are people who were MMA fans who just wanted to see exactly what we saw, and they were more than happy to let you know that they said it all along. People, get this right here. Phil Brooks is 37 years old. He's never competed in any type of high-level sports, never done any high-level training in terms of any one discipline. This man was doing something that he loved as a kid in pro wrestling, and as he grew older, developed a new passion, and that passion was in mixed martial arts. He eventually, at one point, made enough money in wrestling that he could then try this new thing out. And he wanted to do it for a long time. He's finally able to do it. He left the company and a business that he was no longer happy with, and he took on something and did something a lot of us could not do. And there's people who are in their early 20s, late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, whatever the case may be. If I gave you 2 years to train, you could not step in the octagon and fare any better. And for this man to be put up with the amount of scrutiny that he's been put through, above what a man lost like that should get, I find to be absolutely bullshit. And I am now realizing that as I've been going through today, my wife does this thing where she'll see something on Facebook and she'll flip out and she'll respond to every little comment. And I tell her, honey, don't do that. Don't do that. There are trolls. They're taking great amusement out of you. And I did about 5 or 6 straight comments where I'm just answering this and this and this. And I finally figured out CM Punk is one of the bigger triggers I've ever seen in pro wrestling or MMA. And when I say triggers, for people who don't get what that means, that's a name, when a person's name is brought up, that you get a visceral reaction from both sides. People who extremely hate that person or people who extremely love that person. The biggest one I can think of right now is Ronda Rousey. If you mention Ronda Rousey on any social media platform, there are going to be people that tell you she's a quitter, she's fat, and she's ugly.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have people on the other side who think she's the greatest thing that walks on water. We've seen that with John Cena. We've seen that with Roman Reigns. You see it with Conor McGregor. You see it with John Jones. I can put Punk right below Conor and Ronda, and that's about where he sits. And I was very shocked to see that. As far as what happens next with Punk, I'm not sure. Dana brought up the fact that, he might not bring him back in for a fight. He might cut him loose of his contract. Punk said after, in his post-fight presser, that he initially wanted to start off in a smaller territory and work. I don't know what happens next, but you can take glee in the fact that he lost. You can be happy that he left pro wrestling and got his ass whooped. You can be happy that the guy walked in off the street, basically, and used his name to get a fight. But he went in there and he fought, ladies and gentlemen. Something you haven't done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, I pretty much figured the fight was going to be just like the Couture James Toney fight, which essentially it was. Takedown on top, beat him. People. I said this before to people, and to me, these people that most of the wrestling fans that are against Punk and hate him because he left WWE, they feel he quit on them. And to me, they're just self-entitled little douches. They think everything has to be done their way, and they don't like it. You don't respect them, you don't like them, you don't follow them, you don't say hi to them. They get mad. They don't understand this guy just doing something he wanted to do. He wasn't happy where he's at. He quit his job because, not the early job. He left his independent contractor position, and he went and did something else. And all props. I mean, he got people to buy the pay-per-views. He helped the buy rate. He got Mickey Gall noticed and named now, so people know that name. And whatever he does, hey, there's always Bellator.
There is never always Bellator. Stay far, far away from Bellator. He will be fighting. They'll probably put him in with Michael Chandler right away. Just get a rate out of that.
No, Shamrock.
Hey, Punk, can you put on about 30 so pounds? We're going to have you fight Ken Shamrock. But I want to say something while you were bringing up pro wrestling fans. There are some people who, and I want to kind of divide the pro wrestling fans here a little bit, because there are some people who just have never been Punk fans, period, that are pro wrestling fans, whether it's because they find him to be an asshole or they thought his work was overrated. Like, those people, look, I'm not putting you in a category of you being a whiny little douche, as my partner put it here. But again, you're still in that category. If you wanted a guy to lose and he lost, and you decided to post a meme or two and crack a joke, that's fine. If you're one of those people that's going over I've seen this. I've seen a couple people do this. Go to every thread or every post about Punk and just trash him and throw your shitty little memes up. Like, you really take that much joy out of a guy losing? Like, really? Really?
Best part is, Punk went home with a big fat paycheck.
And his wife.
Yeah.
and look, going back to the fight itself, you're right. And I've heard the James Toney and Couture reference before too, and there's people who say this is exactly the same fight. In a way, it was. In a way, it wasn't. I really wish, and I'm trying to say this without sounding like I'm bashing Mickey Gall here. But Mickey, prior to the fight, and I think after the fight, mentioned both times that this was going to be a fight where he was going to, test him out on the feet and all that, and wants to do that. And then what happened in the fight? First move, boom, takedown. Do not fault him at all for that. Just like I don't fault Randy Couture at all for taking down Tony and going through that route. They did what they had to do to win, so I hold nothing against them personally for that. I, as a CM Punk fan, would have loved to see more of his stand-up to see how he developed as a fighter in that regard. And I'm a little disappointed in that. But other than that, I give the man nothing but props for stepping up and doing something like this.
Yeah, you gotta have respect for him. I mean, none of us could get up right now, walk into a UFC ring, and do any better. I mean, you gotta give it to him.
So we had the post-fight interviews with Joe. Mickey's on first. At the point where I kind of watched, I was kind of in and out with some of his speech. He was saying, fuck the haters or something like that. I think that may have been a reference into the people that were talking about Punk and all that. He gave him Punk props for stepping up for the fight, and then he goes straight out of the book of pro wrestling and calls out Sage Northcutt. Because why not, right?
Why not? You pick the big names, get your name out there, pick the big names, go after them.
Go for it. I think he means. I'm trying to think of what exact his phrase was. I will knock the spikes out of his hair. At that point, I really wish Punk would have tapped him on the shoulder and fed him a line. Like, nah, kid, go with this one. And real quick, before I get to Joe and Punk on this post-fight interview, tell me if I'm wrong on this one. Joe seemed to take great pride in this dismantling that Punk guy, to the point where every opportunity that came arise in this short fight to talk bad about Punk, to dismantle him a little bit on the microphone, Joe took great pleasure in doing so. Even when Mike Goldberg, for example, when Punk fought off that very first choke, and Goldberg, hey, he fought out of the first one. Joe was real quick, yeah, but he's not going to get out of this one. Is there some heat between these two I do not know about?
Not that I know. I think it's more along the lines, Joe is somebody loves the sport. He's in the business. He works for it. He trained all his life. He loves martial art. He saw it as maybe like some people, he saw like, why was Punk getting a shot in there? He probably knows how much Punk was making for the fight. There are guys that would love to have that spot right there. So I think it was more just a not being mean, but you really didn't belong here type thing.
Yeah, I took it that way too. I just found it kind of that interaction in particular where Goldberg's, at least Goldberg's doing his job as an announcer of, I guess as a pro wrestling announcer, trying to get the other guy over, and Joe Rogan's playing JBL, talking over Cole and telling him to shut up. This is what's actually happening. I just found that to be kind of weird. But we get to the post fight, and Punk gives a speech about never giving up and never having people tell you can't do something. It's the stuff he's kind of been saying along this whole time. And there are people who wanted to bash this and said it was rehearsed and all that and the other. Folks, he's been saying this whole time. The man just got beat. He thought in his mind he had a chance. He'd been training hard. A lot of people don't give him credit for making it through training camp. If people knew how hard training camp was for these fighters, the fact that he made it through a training camp was a big accomplishment. He gets out there, he loses badly, he's emotional, and just, this plus the post-fight presser, seeing him break, I really felt for this guy here. I hope he finds some way of getting what he wants out of this in another fight. We'll just have to wait and see.
Nah, I think he'll be all right. I mean, even if he doesn't get another fight, he got to do something he probably always wanted to do. He can go back. I mean, he doesn't even have to go back to wrestling. He's probably made enough money now where he's happy. He doesn't have to worry about anything anymore.
And really that's what all of us would like. We would all like to be able to be comfortable where we can just say, hey, I'm going to quit my job and go do this thing over here. So more power to him. But alrighty, UFC 203. I pretty much missed every prelim except for the main card on FS1, which is the women's bantamweight fight between Bethe Correia and Jessica Ai.
Yeah.
I hear it in your voice. Go ahead, man.
Okay, well, a couple things. I did have Bethe Correia winning the fight. I thought she won round 2, and then come round 3, I didn't think Jessica I did nothing except pretty much this new run technique that seems to be a popular thing now.
Oh yeah, everybody loves to run in the octagon.
Then after the round 3 was over, I'm a little concerned about this weird dancing that Betch Coher was doing.
She's
Did
trying
you
to
see
get a
that?
gimmick. She's trying out a new gimmick. See how it works. I actually saw it as I scored this for. I shouldn't say I really scored this for. I heard what the results were for this fight, but not how the fight itself went. So I had to watch this a little bit later. When I watched it live, I thought Jessica I won round one. I thought round two could have kind of gone either way, but I scored it for I also. And I agree with you. Round three, she did absolutely nothing. But this wasn't one of those decisions that to me was like a robbery in any sense. I mean, you scored it for Correa. I mean, I can see that, so it didn't bother me so much. Kind of what did bother me though is you watch the weigh-ins for these two, and Betch is storming up to Jessica I. Jessica I, puts her hands on her, pushes her back, knocks her back, and you're thinking you're gonna get like this is gonna be a war in this octagon, and the fight comes and you get none of that.
Yeah, it was kind of lackadaisical. I don't know if maybe because she was fighting in front of her home crowd. I think Jessica's better than that. She seemed timid, like she didn't want to do anything.
It's she's really been that way since the Misha Tate fight. It's really been that way. If you watch the first round of that Misha Tate fight, she's handling Misha Tate on the feet. She's landing combos. Jessica has really great boxing, and she was doing well. And when she got caught and she went down, it seems ever since that moment she fights so timidly. And I say this, look, I'm a huge Jessica I fan. I'm a huge Jessica I fan. She's one of the fighters that interacts with her fans a lot, so I interact with her quite a bit, especially on Twitter. Something I know she was speaking to a sports psychologist before this fight. I think she needs to take some time off. I'm not sure if now at this point what she's lost was it 4 in a row or 5 in a row.
Something like that, yeah. It's like Borner, I think.
So she might get cut, but on the off chance she does not, she needs some time away and to figure out what's going wrong, because she has shown in the past that she should be at towards the top of this division, and something I think is not physical, something mentally is blocking her.
Well, also everybody seems to be a little bugged out about the Bruce Buffer reading the results. How he paused there for a second.
Yeah, did you get a chance to see that scorecard?
No, I haven't seen the scorecard, but I saw him. Like I said, when he did that, I was like, okay. And then everybody's like, oh no, there was a conspiracy. She should have won. He called the wrong thing.
Yeah, I heard the jokes that maybe he got confused because he was standing right behind Betch and maybe his eyes got memorized for him. I've heard all of it, but the scorecard is floating around, and the three judges, their scores are all on there, and that third judge, it looks like for round 3 he might have given Jessica I an 8. Or initially put that down and then try to change it back to a 9, so his number was a little off. So I think that's where the confusion with Buffer came in at. If I find a picture here, I'll send it to you so you can take a look. But I think that's where that last score kind of came from. But going forward now, Betch gets the win. She has called out everybody. She wants to fight Misha. She wants to fight Cyborg. She wants to... Yeah, the Cyborg one was pretty... I find that comical. Okay, look, let me tell y'all what I love and hate about Betch. I love that Betch thinks she is the baddest chick on the planet. Because you need to have that type of confidence when you're in an octagon. You can't go in there thinking that this person may do this or that better than me, or I'm not. You need to go in there and think you're the best. What I don't like about Betch, she is not the best or the baddest in the world. She's known as a striker, and it's because she had a couple of TKO wins. But, I mean, she's very heavy-footed. She doesn't have much movement. There is almost no power in her arms either. And I'm not trying to disrespect Betch because she gets in there and she fights. The UFC is doing the right strategy with her and picking her opponents. She just needs to stick with that. And then she can do her crap talking or shit talking when she has an opponent. You don't need to be matchmaker.
Well, you don't be calling out Cyborg, man. No, I wouldn't even go against Cyborg.
Well, I'm not even worried about the Cyborg thing anyway because Cyborg's not fighting under 140, and it's for super fights. Like, with Leslie Smith and whoever she's fighting. Yeah, those are super fights. Let me get off of this because I'll get on a cyborg rant.
All right.
But so it's interesting to see what they do with Correa next. I personally, Lauren Murphy called her out on Twitter, and Lauren Murphy's one of my favorite followers on Twitter. You should check her out. I think she's been robbed of a couple of decisions. It'd be fighting down for Betch, but I think that's a fight that she could be poised to look good in. And it also gives Lauren Murphy too, because they'll stand there and trade. I like to see that fight or Betch versus Marion Renault. I think that's a great fight.
Nice.
I know I can play bookie now and then. I know Sean Shelby might get the call up to the bigger weight classes. So UFC, I'm here. If you want me, I'll book these. Like I said earlier, I'm not sure what UFC does with Jessica. I hope they start doing this period when you have someone who's a prospect or shows promise, just had a couple of bad outings in the UFC. Just keep them on a contract, but send them to Invicta. They did that with Jessamine Duke. Hasn't worked out well for her in Invicta yet, but she's still, still with it. They did not do that for Angela Hill, who I wish they would have, because now she's going on to become champion. I just like the idea of a small little developmental thing for some of these fighters if you have the chance. And when Invicta, the perfect partner, there you have it. So we'll see what happens with I. So moving on to the main card, we had Jessica Andrade, trying to make sure I said that right, versus Joanne Calderwood. On my show, I made the prediction that Joanne looked drawn, and I spent a lot of time talking about Joanne, and then I kind of casually bumped out, well, I think Jessica's going to win. Just, she's a better fighter. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm trying
JoJo just looks like she doesn't belong with that level of talent. She just doesn't look like she has it in her. She looks like she's just somebody out there doesn't even know what she's doing half the time. And I'm not saying anything against Aldra. She was just a beast. Bloody eye and everything was still pounding out.
The JoJo thing is I find interesting. JoJo's actually the opposite of the trigger word I used earlier and explained. JoJo has like this insane following. I like JoJo myself. She has this insane following. I don't know whether it's the hairstyle or the accent or anything like that. It's got to be. People love her. And I saw her a couple of fights in Invicta. I thought she looked sharp. And she got in a tough house and things didn't go well for her there. And I think Mike brought this up during the fight. JoJo's 11-1, and it's almost like she's 11-1. I feel like she's lost a lot more fights than just one. But 115 for sure is not for her. I know she would want to stay in the UFC, and 135 would be too big of a leap. But 115, she's just not keeping up, at least with that division. And that weight cut is brutal on her too. So if they open up that flyweight division, I'm pretty sure JoJo and Beck Rollins will be the first two on that door and Leslie Smith will be the first ones on that door to kick in that division. I want to take a second to talk about Jessica and these rampage slams she was hitting.
Oh, yes.
For people who don't remember, Jessica fought at 135 at one point. And it wasn't like she fought at 135 and got handled, and so she went to 115. She did well at 135. Goes out at 115, and I mean, that second slam, she has JoJo kind of by the crotch, kind of lifts up from the crotch, picks her up completely over her head, and throws her down effortlessly. This girl's scary.
Yeah, I was going crazy. I love seeing stuff like that. It does remind me of when Rampage powerbombed the one dude. Just manhandling somebody. I like that.
So this fight, I'm sorry, let me get to the finish here. Jessica gets a guillotine choke, 4 minutes and 38 seconds of the first round. I'm thinking everybody immediately after the fight was bringing up Jessica versus Claudia. That would be interesting. Very interesting fight. But we'll get into this also when we get to the Verdum fight. I feel that once you're either the champion and have lost your belt, or you were the number one contender and lost in the championship fight, I hate that they keep you number one in the rankings. I really hate that. Because if they set this fight up now with Claudia and Jessica, and Claudia wins again, you're looking at a third fight with Joanne and Claudia. which is great. I love to see. I can watch those two fight forever, but we've just seen that fight, and the rankings make it so that once you're at that top, one of those top two spots, you kind of keep up there until you start losing. But that person that's 1 or 2 is probably still better than 3 and 4.
Yeah, I mean, well, in Claudia's defense, I mean, her last fight, I mean, that was a fight. I mean, there was no like, oh, it was back and forth. It was a good fight, you know. It wasn't like when Misha fought Ronda, and every time she, you know, got tapped out real quick or first, second round, that was it. It was actually a good fight, so you know, it could have went either way. I wouldn't mind seeing the third one with them too.
No, I would. Like I said, I wouldn't mind seeing the third one either. It's so quick, and like I said, we'll get more into this when we get to the Verdun fight, which we'll get to here in a moment. It's just yeah, I know you're chomping at the bit for that one, but just that problem with the ranking system just allows for things like this. We'll move on to the next fight, and as I told AJ before we started, there was so much I kept up with this weekend, and I think I messaged you last night until I finally saw the whole card, or I was waiting on one fight, and completely skipped over this Jimmy Rivera-Uriah Faber fight. So I will say this. In my prediction show, I flat out said this is a step up in competition for Jimmy. Uriah never loses these type of fights when they're not championship fights. I picked it to be a decision for Faber, possibly Faber catching with an early submission because we've seen him do that before. And apparently I was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, Faber had 2 major moves in the fight. One was a groin kick, and the other one was a blatant eye poke. That was it. Everything else, there wasn't much like grappling. It was just straight swinging. And this Jimmy Rivera kid, he's got something.
Yeah, like I said, this was a major step up in competition for him. So for him to get a win like this on pay-per-view is a notch in his feather for sure. That bantamweight division gets more and more interesting every fight. Kind of wonder what's next for Uriah now.
See, I think if he would have won, I would have gave him Dillashaw because people want to see that fight. So there's still a chance for that. Other than that,
I think Faber still wants that fight, and there still would be a demand. It's an easy storyline to tell. Like I love it anytime I'm talking UFC. I always bring up wrestling terms like storyline and work, but it applies. There's a perfect storyline between these two. Dillashaw probably won't want the fight if he gets the next shot. If they go ahead and announce, which I'm surprised they haven't. They haven't announced Cruz versus Cody No Love yet. I can see him taking that fight too. So that's still in the future. But as far as Uriah being a contender or a guy that's vying for the belt, I think those days are done. As far as him being someone who's still on the roster and can draw well for the UFC and for Fox and go out there and get some wins, I think he can still go. So it kind of just depends on where he sees his future at this point.
yeah, you got too many people in that division that are ahead of him. I mean, I wouldn't even put. I wouldn't even say Dillashaw would be the next one that get to the title shot after Cody. I think there's still that talk of that Demetrius Johnson Cruz fight.
Yeah, and that's a fight that I love the first fight. Guys, go check out that first fight on Fight Pass. I'm still waiting for Fight Pass and WWE Network to send me some funds for promoting their stuff all the time. But I think at this point now, assuming Cruz gets past Cody No Love, which we should not be assuming that at all, by the way. That fight between those two can definitely do better for both, especially for DJ, who has a tough time drawing on pay-per-view. That fight would be a big, big fight for him. But, I'm trying to think, when would you book that fight, and if it is worth, if it would match up with everything else. If you do a card where you put DJ and Mighty Mouse and Cruz on a card, you can easily put Faber and Dillashaw on that same card.
Ooh, nice.
Now,
nice.
Yeah. So I don't know
but does Cody get Dillashaw?
I think you can hold off on that one. I think you can hold off because I think you get the Faber fight done first, Especially after this performance, you want to go ahead and make the money off of that one while you can. Dillashaw and Cody No Love, they're going to be in the division. They're going to be towards the top of the division for a while. So I think that's something you can always come back to. But you got to do that favorite fight to me anyway. And if I'm both guys, I want this fight. You got to do that as soon as possible.
Then you got something like to John Lineker against John Dodson.
Oh man, I love me some John Dodson.
He is awesome.
This 135, I can't help but think 135 is still I don't know how fair he'll do towards the top of that division. At 125, he was really to me just behind the champ. And there's nothing wrong with being just behind the champ, but I can see his frustration in that regard and wanting to go to a different division and give that a shot. We'll just have to kind of wait and see.
Oh, before we go on, can we talk about the weird pullouts of the fight? We had CB Dollaway getting hurt in an elevator.
Yeah. Oh, man. I kind of brushed past this on the last show. I kind of, look, on this show, I try to be, fair and objective, but I never try to be mean-spirited unless I'm talking about Mojo Rawley. But I heard this and I'm thinking, elevator accident, guy's back is out, this could be serious. And then I see the video and I kind of go, okay, they dropped maybe a few feet. This isn't really much. There's going to be a lawsuit against this hotel. Let's just get that out of the way. And the reports I've been hearing is that, initially CB felt something in his back and it kind of, there was a little stiffness there, but it got worse as the day went on. And I said this on my show. You don't pull out of a fight after going through a training camp and spending that money on a training camp to then not fight and get a paycheck. So I don't believe the guy wasn't hurt. But goddamn, if you can't trust an elevator.
Right? Well, that's just like Ian McCall. I think his last two fights canceled at the last minute.
Last two fights. And look, I really thought at some point, because I know Cerrone stepped up and volunteered to replace CB Dollaway. I'm really surprised he didn't say, hey, I'll drop down to 135 and help, or 135 and help out Ian. On that real quick, UFC got to make this right with Ian. He's been ready to go for 2 straight shows. They got to do something to make that right for him. Just my opinion on that one.
Yeah.
But so CB's out. That was a funny moment. We can then move on to the fight that you have been wanting to talk about. The co-main event, former champ Fabricio Verdun versus Travis Browne. Go ahead, I'll let you start, and I'll try to pick up whatever mess you left behind.
This fight starts off with a kung fu action TV show jumping sidekick to the face, which was just awesome. Then you get a little worried there because Fabricio looked like he was doing good, had him everything. Fight's going on and on. Then you get this weird finger moment where Brown starts complaining or saying something about his finger being broken, whatever, and the ref doesn't stop it, so Fabricio goes right at him again. They fight, and then Fabricio started going back into the old, I'm fighting Fedor, so I'm just going to keep falling on my back every 5 seconds.
God.
We get to the fight, it ends. And here comes the best part. You have Mojo Rollins that you don't like? Edmund Travardi, whatever. I hate him. He's worthless. I hate him. Comes in and starts posturing up, yelling at Fabricio. Fabricio kicks at him. They're trying to separate. Best part is Bruce Buffer's the one separating people.
It was the wackiest thing I've ever seen in a UFC octagon. And that says a lot. I've seen a lot happen in UFC octagon. That was the craziest. And I don't think you're doing... Let me go back real quick. You're not doing the finger thing justice. So, Travis Browne, if you haven't seen it, have you seen the picture of Brown's finger from the fight?
Yeah.
Seen what his finger okay, so there's a legit break there. It's poking through the skin. It's whatever. So, he sees this, and basically there's a timeout called. There is a fucking timeout in the octagon. And I've been listening to Dave Meltzer now for years. I've never heard Dave flip his shit more than describing How the hell can there be a timeout and you not just end the fucking fight? Is that not a verbal tap out? And I've heard about this before I watched it. I watched it and I could not believe they stopped the fight to check this out and then let it continue. It's mind blowing to me. It's mind blowing. What you're gonna have next happen is someone's gonna get caught with a right and gonna go down and then ask for a timeout and they're gonna check his brain right there in the octagon and then let the fight. You have to set a precedent on this shit. We let blood get away. You know, when the guys get blood in the eyes, we want to be able to sure that he can see and protect themselves. That's when you have a timeout there. The guy gets a low blow. Look, low blows suck. We've all been low blow before. This shit's no fun. We give them time to recover and then the fight goes on. If you start giving timeouts for bullshit like this, I joked about the checking for a concussion thing. We're going to start doing that if you allow this. This was horrible. This fight was horrible. Fuck both these guys. Oh my God. I have a headache. And then I didn't even touch on the kick. Didn't even touch on the kick. I was pissed off about the timeout. Look, I'm a huge Ronda fan. I make no secret about that. None. Edmund, on the other hand. So anyway,
the best part is,
yeah.
Well, sorry. The best part is after this and everything, Fabricio went back. They talk about. They're saying they're not going to do anything about it. He apologized. It's all good. What I'm thinking is UFC pretty much don't like Edmund either. They don't like what he does. They probably still have some negative feelings from the way he was coaching Ronda and got Ronda beat, lost the money cow on that. You know, he's got that whole legal situation going on where he claims he only makes like $1 a year.
Yeah, he doesn't take money from his fighters, yeah.
So I'm pretty sure, I think that he might be out. I think they might ban him.
I mean, this is so, I have no idea. Apparently some person overheard that Edmund was saying, you know, fuck your hand or fuck you or something like that. And Fabricio kind of turned over and kind of kicked at him. When we say kick, for those who haven't seen it, which is shocking that you're listening to this show and you haven't seen it yet, we're not talking like a full-on hi-ya kick. It's more like a bitch back up kind of kick. Kind of moved him a few feet, whatever.
Yeah, that's what Fabricio said. The guy comes in. He said he knows he's a boxer and everything. He was posturing up at him, yelling at him. Fabricio kicked him for distance just to keep him back.
Yeah.
And then Babalu.
Babalu.
Babalu wanted to kill somebody.
Oh, yeah. You're ready to fight now. You never know what'll happen in the octagon now. Somebody start throwing them hands on them feet. You have to be ready to go. But this was just, it was embarrassing. And, you know, my wife got to see the clip because I was explaining it to her. And so I finally showed her the clip. And the first words out of her mouth was, I don't know what that guy said, but they need to do something to the guy that threw the kick. And she's right to a degree. I understand, you know, Edmund's a boxer and he's as great as Muhammad Ali because they had the mule together. But no joke. I mean, you can't throw a kick at someone after the fight that's in the corner. You just can't do that. So I'm not looking for some severe punishment. Maybe UFC, you know, fines him a really small amount, kind of keep it under the table, say he's been punished. They've apologized to you, and you do that. But you can't have that shit. You really can't.
Well, yeah, and be honest, in Fabricio's defense too, like I said, you can't go in somebody, you know, you just got done fighting, here comes another guy from the other team coming right at you. You know, your first instinct is to get back up and protect yourself.
I hear you. And getting over to Edmund, and I want to discuss this really quickly. Travis lost now 2 fights to, well, let me put that on a back burner for a second. Travis Brown loses another fight. Ever since Travis has joined Edmund's camp, he's got I think he had the win over Schaub. And I think that might be it. He might have another one.
He got Mitrione.
Mitrione, right.
Remember, but that was he was poking him in the face, poking him in the eye like 3 or 4 times.
You know what? I think I got poked in the eye of that fight too, so I don't remember seeing it. That's maybe what it was. Yeah, you know, that reminds me. Fabricio took a finger poke in this fight too, did he not? Because I saw there is a picture.
Yeah, the picture.
Oh God, that is a graphic ass picture. That's John Jones-esque finger poke. I mean, this was finger making sweet tender love to a man's orbital socket. It is in there. Travis is a guy who, I mean, when his career started, I mean, he was on a rocket ship going up. And this is one of those times I don't want to blame solely Edmund and his camp or his gym. It's maybe just Travis has got so much on his back from dealing with everything that goes with being Ronda's boyfriend, dealing with his crazy-ass ex-wife, and just all of that. And he's just thinking his release is fighting, and it's just all that's in his head. He's another person that needs to, sit down for a little bit and reevaluate shit.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it's too much for him or something. Because like you said, at one point he beat Overeem, Barnett, and everything.
Yes,
he was just dropping people.
On a tear. Oh, and by the way, people, the score, this fight went to a decision, 29-28, 29-27, 30-27, Fabricio Verdum, unanimous decision. So this gets back to what I was saying earlier about rankings, when I was talking about Jessica and Claudia. Fabricio, I didn't get to see the post-fight interview here, but I saw him at the presser, where he is saying, I'm ranked number 1, I won, I'm the next for a title fight.
This whole heavyweight division needs to be readjusted, because it seems like the same 4 guys or 5 guys are fighting for the title.
And it's not even that. Just conceptually, if you're an outside objective person, the guy that's ranked number 1 and the guy that's Kane's ranked number 2, correct? I believe so. I should probably put it. Kane's ranked 2. So you got a guy that's 1 and 2, and they're not fighting each other. That's fine. They both faced a very common opponent. One guy dominates the shit out of that opponent. The other one gets poked in the eye and kicks the other guy's trainer and wins a ugly-ass decision. So I don't know in what universe Fabricio has, other than I'm ranked number 1, that he deserves a title shot. And that's my big argument, is that you just lost the belt, so you're automatically number 1. That needs to go away. I think Ronda right now is ranked either 2 or 3 in the women's bantamweight division. Make no doubt about it. Ronda is probably 1 or 2 in that division, flat out, period. That's skill level wise, there is no question about it. However, when you're inactive that long, or when you're just lost from a fight, or you have a performance like this and the rankings need to be not just automatically done based off of you lost the title. That just needs to go away. It causes all types of confusion. It causes all type of mess. People look at rankings and try to match-make fights when that's not the case. If I'm UFC with Verdum right now, I look for him for another fight. Dave brought up having him versus Josh Barnett, and I think that's an excellent fight. Yeah. He wins that fight, you might be in contendership right now. Right now, Kane is the number 1 contender. Kane is next. No doubt about it. Kane is next. Speaking of which, let's just go ahead and talk about the main event. Stipe Miocic. Stone Cold Stipe fighting in front of his hometown against Alistair Overeem.
Running man.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, this fight. There's posturing at the beginning, and then not Verdum. Alistair does his. I guess he was on. He missed the Olympics so much that he wanted to run one of the 100s or 200 meters and starts literally running. If you've seen the Gustafsson versus Cormier fight and how Gus would kind of just jog away from Cormier during a flurry, this was 10 times worse than that, and there was no fucking flurry to run from. But just run. Literally turn his back and run. And even with that said, he caught Stipe. Caught him, knocked him down, and immediately went for the guillotine. Stipe gets out of that. They get standing back up. They trade. There's more running. Stipe, at some points, is actively running after his opponent. Gets rocked a few more times. Catches Overeem back. And at that point, he catches him again. They end up on the ground. Stipe is beating him up on the ground. Referee stops it. KO finishes 4 minutes 27 seconds in the first round. Stipe is still your UFC heavyweight champion of the world. he beat the running man.
That's not even the best part. The best part was after the fight's done and Joe goes to interview Alistair, and Alistair claims, "Oh, I thought he tapped." And Joe's like, "Hold on, we got it in the truck, let's replay it." They replayed it, and he goes, let's replay the game in slow motion. Now, where'd he tap?
Look, I gave Joe shit a little bit earlier about the CM Punk call. And every time I want to be mad at Joe, Joe's just something just great that makes me love my life. Oh God. So yeah, Joe brought this up too, and I want to get this in real quick. Joe brought up the fact that if a guy gets knocked out, he probably should not be interviewing him post fight. So in Overeem's defense, he may still have been a little. I mean, he took a long time standing up after the fight was stopped. He was probably still out of it. But yeah, he hops up there and he tapped. And I mean, the truck. I don't know whether the truck just said, you know what, we got it. Fucking let's mess with this guy, or the fact that this is for a title, they needed to eliminate all doubt. Either way, the truck got on this quick, and Joe, oh, you tap? Well, here, we're looking at this replay here. Don't see it tap. Don't see it tap. Oh, here, don't worry about it. We got another angle. show me where he tapped here. I don't see anything here. Here, we got you a marker. Circle where he tapped you. It's like was on it. Oh my God. But folks, I've looked at a ton of different angles. There's people saying that from the red corner it looks to be a tap from Stipe. No one's provided any visual evidence. So until we see that, I'm just gonna chalk this up as a very funny moment in the life of Joe Rogan. So that was UFC 203. Honestly, aside from the main event, which was a lot of fun, and the antics at the end of the co-main event, this show sucked.
Yeah. And I was kind of bummed out anyway, because earlier in the day I heard that Cerrone versus Lawler is going to be off.
Yes. And
Which I understand.
And Cerrone has already stepped up and offered to step in for Lawler. So it'll be Cerrone versus Cerrone.
But I understand why Lawler did it. You know, he did take a knockout. You know, he had those brutal fights with McDonald and everything. No problem. Wants to take more time off. I get it, but that was a fight I was just looking forward to.
Yeah, and I alluded this on my last podcast as well. This could have been one of those things. Data said after I think it was after 202 that Robbie was calling him nonstop after he lost, and that's the fighter mentality of, you know, hurry up and get back in there and correct the wrong that happened and get that win back and get back in the column. But I really think, you know, the fight got agreed to. He goes into training camp where he has time to kind of sit around and think about it. Just goes, you know what, I need a little bit more time. And good for him for that. Take all the time he needs, get himself straight, because we love Robbie Lawler. He gives us amazing fights. And I want his head to be all the way in the game when he comes back.
Yes.
Now, real quick, I just got this notification before we started recording. I want to throw this out real quick. It's been agreed upon that the UFC event in Melbourne on November 26th, and I got a big thing to say about this one. Luke Rockhold will face Jacare Souza. Jacare. I love Jacare. I really, when it comes to like a lot of Brazilian fighters, I'm kind of off and on against Alyssa Anderson Silva. I love Jacare. Jacare has done nothing but just beat everybody except one person, who then failed a PED test. He also sat on that damn stool I know Tim Kennedy's still mad about. Lost that one fight and is still getting thrown around in circles. Look, this fight will be awesome. I think this fight will be a lot of fun. And I'm happy that the fight is made. But if you're making this fight, Souza wins this fight, Souza gets a title shot no matter what. It needs to happen. I'm sorry.
I mean, people are complaining about that, and I understand why they went with Henderson and Bisping for the title. I mean, once again, there's a story there, you know, and Henderson's last fight at all, you know, he could walk out champion. It's going to be in Bisping's hometown. He's the champion, defending the title in his hometown. I can see that. But yeah, Jacare, after we did the B tour, yeah, he should have got the title shot.
Folks, I can go down the list of people that Jacare has beaten in the last, I can go 5 years. And the names that jump, I mean, Tim Kennedy, Derek Brunson, Gegard Mousasi, Yushin Okami, Vitor, like you just mentioned. There are names that this guy has just gone through and still cannot get the damn title shot. So, I don't know. That part bothers me. Now, as far as, you know, Henderson and Bisping, that's coming up next, UFC 204 over in London. And I have no problem with that fight. I call for this fight. So I'm fine with that. Like you said, it's a great story. I wish they somehow could have got this on UFC 200. That'd have been even better.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. As far as the rest of the pack in 185 goes with the Rockholds and the Weidmans, them fighting other people and not immediately for the title, I'm for that too. But now you kind of create this scenario. You have Jacare and Luke Rockhold fighting, and I think is Weidman set up with Romero, or is that fight not official yet?
I don't think that's official yet.
No.
I know he wanted to fight in New York, but I don't think he'd get that. I don't think he was going to be cleared to fight then.
Well, if the rumor holds true and that's what we're getting, you're then back in a situation where someone has to win more spectacularly than someone else. And Jacare has already been in that position where he had a fight on a card I think it was the same card that Rockhold was on. And both guys won the fight. Jacare was ranked higher. Rockhold got the fight. So at this point, if I'm Souza, at this point, I am telling them, if I win this fight, I want the title shot, period. And that just needs to be something he puts very much across to the UFC at this point.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I know they already fought before, Rockhold and Jacare. They fought in what, Strikeforce?
Yes, 2001, if I remember correctly. I'm sorry, 2011. Sorry.
Rockhold won and everything, so they're gonna play up that angle and everything. But the way he's looked lately, Jacare is just monstrous, very scary,
and scary on all aspects, on the feet and on the ground. It's something I'm very much looking forward to. Now, I'm sorry, while we were just talking here, I went to go pull up the fight card for UFC 204, and I'm looking at it. Obviously we have the main event, Bisping versus Henderson. We have Vitor Belfort versus Gegard Mousasi, which that could be, I don't know, man. Ever since I kind of really wish they'd gave that TRT exemption to both Belfort and to Bigfoot, because those two are completely different since they got off the TRT, bro. So we'll see what happens with that. Gegard's another guy. I mean, a win over Vitor there, and if he does it in a dominant fashion, he's right there knocking as well.
Yes.
Oliseh Prue versus Jimmy Manuar is on. Stefan Struve currently does not have an opponent, and I think that's what's going to be your main card. So 204 looks interesting, but obviously this is one of those shows where it's really the one fight and the one story that's going to sell this card.
Of course, yes. And before we go on anything, I want to bring something up. One of the first times on your podcast, we actually made a comment about the Anderson Silva Michael Bisping fight, and you took Silva, and you said Silva will win. And if I was wrong, you were gonna not let me forget about it. And if I was right, I was gonna not let you forget about it.
Yeah, I know. I still think, man, that was a 10-8 third round. I'll take that to my grave. I will take that to my grave. This is an interesting fight between Bisping and Henderson for 204. It's so tough to pick a Henderson fight because everything logically can tell you that the guy is not going to win. But he's got shuffle H-bomb in his back pocket. And it's his last fight. He's fighting for the title. I'm going to go out and make a prediction now, an early prediction, and I'm going to tweak it right before the fight. Right now, my heart is telling me Henderson. I'm going to go with Henderson. Shuffle H-bomb. We'll get it done in the first round.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, I don't know. I think I want Henderson to win. I want him to win. I just want him. Part of me thinks so. It might be like a third round TKO from Bisping. I think he's going to play safe, try and stay away, just grab him, get on top of him, ground and pound him. Do whatever he can to stay away from that right hand or right elbow.
I will say that Bisping's last performance against Rockhold, I mean, we questioned Bisping's power in his hands for years, and for him to finish off at this late stage of his career, for him to finish off Rockhold with strikes is something that shocked a lot of people. So that's a different dynamic that we've gotten on this fight that we didn't have in the previous fight. So that should be very interesting to see how that falls out. Sorry, I just got a message here. It's more CM Punk bashing. Jesus Christ, people. But on that note, AJ, you have anything else to add?
Um, just that I hope that the Conor McGregor Eddie Alvarez fight turns up.
I brought that up on my last show too. That should be. I don't see why you don't make that fight. Dude, to me, this is a show. This is a big show. This is actually the third big show the UFC has had this year. But this is huge. You spent a lot of money to get back or to get in New York, Madison Square Garden. You want Conor or Ronda on this card. You're not getting Ronda, so you gotta have Conor. I know that Dana's come out and said that he's got to go down and defend the title. Fuck that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd love to see the fight. I do think that fight needs to happen. But I mean, I love Eddie, man, and he wants to fight there. Conor wants to be a champ in two divisions. Why not?
They're gonna trade. They're not gonna sit there and go for takedown. It's just gonna be because Eddie's been known to go to wars where it's just straight slugging.
Absolutely.
I'd like to see that.
Absolutely. So we'll see. I think we'll start hearing more about that. I think right around the time of 204, or I should say next couple of weeks. I should say we'll hear a little bit more about that. Because right now, I don't. Is there anything officially booked for that card yet?
I believe it's Rashad versus Tim Kennedy, and I think Al Iaquinta against Thiago Alves.
Let me see here. I'm about to go to the Wikipedia site. Yes, Tim Kennedy, Rashad Evans, Al Iaquinta, Thiago Alvarez, Gian Vellante versus Marcos Rogero de Lima. Those are your 3 fights announced, and those 3 fights, I'm sure, are going to sell a lot of tickets. So yeah, I expect an announcement coming really soon. Alrighty. Actually, you know what? Let me bring up one more thing now that we're bringing up 205 here. We mentioned that Ronda's not going to be on the card. She's already told Dana that. Have you seen the recent pictures of Ronda?
Yes.
And the fact that she's been tested by USADA lately.
You've seen the recall pictures. She's been showing up at a lot of independent wrestling events.
Yes. By the way, congratulations to Queen of Spades, Shayna Baszler. She's a champ.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, she's Ronda's been a lot more visible lately, and I know the rumor I've heard is that she's looking to come back around the Super Bowl card. That's the early rumor I'm hearing.
Ooh, okay, I can see that.
Now, what becomes interesting at this point is Cyborg has her fight coming up. She's fighting at 140 again against. I know this woman's name because I've written it down. I've written a bunch of comments about her, but her name escapes me right now. But she has her fight coming up. She says this is the last time she wants to make 140 unless it's Ronda. I'm so sick of this back and forth between these two about Ronda making 140 or Cyborg having to make 135. But I almost feel like if this fight does not happen on this next Ronda fight, that it's probably never going to happen.
It's a tough call to make it because what do you really get out of it? Unless Ronda wins, no offense to Cyborg, if she wins, it's just we told you. Ronda wins, it's something, but if Cyborg wins, it doesn't do nothing for anybody.
To me, it all kind of boils down to, for the longest time, Ronda did have I'm the champion of a division that's in this company. So you come to me. People now want to take that away and say, well, she's no longer the champ, so go fight this person at this weight that they're more comfortable with. And they'll throw out that Ronda used to fight at 145 and say, well, she did before, she can now. So those people always say, you're stupid, you don't know how human bodies work. I used to walk around at 155 pounds. I no longer walk at 155 pounds 10 years later. That's just how people's bodies are. But this is being rumored a lot from Cyborg's camp that this Ronda return is going to be in February, and they're angling now to do something to kind of fluff this up for 140 and make it interesting to Ronda. I think honestly, if I'm UFC, she tells me she's ready to come back. and she's going to come back around a certain time. I know Dana's come out publicly and said she's the next person to get a title shot. And that wouldn't bother me so much, but I would like to see her fight either home or fight someone else in the top 5 before giving her a title shot.
I think she needs the home fight again. If she gets home fight and gets back that win, it basically puts her right. The mystique starts to build up again. She comes back, she dominates home. You could do something with that.
The only negative I have on the home fight though is home has lost 2 in a row now.
Yeah, it looks like she got exposed for maybe not being the complete fighter that she is.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, Ronda does to me. Not to me, I mean, who cares what I necessarily think, but it's a good look for her, and I know she probably wants it too, to go ahead and avenge that loss. I personally would like to see her fight someone else in the top 5, get that one on her belt. If you can go for the title, and then she can call out home all day, and that fight will be money still. But home herself needs to get a win.
Yeah, she looked bad the last fight against Valentina Shevchenko.
Valentina Shevchenko.
Yes.
Oh, I remember that name way too well now. Way too well. But yeah, she got exposed by someone who actually does what home does better than her.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's the best way I can think to put that fight.
So I don't know, but before you go, I want to ask you one more thing. What do you think about Dana saying that he wants to make Rumble and John Jones fight for number one contender or the interim title, and then take on Daniel Cormier?
I almost went a whole podcast without talking about John Jones. All right, this is to me. I get why it's being done. For the people who are saying like this is being done because Cormier is scared of John Jones, I will say this, and I don't give a damn if you get mad. I don't care if I care if you stop listening to the show, but fuck off. DC busted his ass, and he's had to deal with this John Jones aura being on him for over a year, and he was ready to fight on July 9th, and Jones fucked up. Like we've all had that coworker or someone we know in life that we just hate with all a passion. Just hate with all a passion. And imagine that one day you get to fight this person with no repercussions, and then they do something to where that does not happen. Like that eats away at a man. So to me, I'm completely fine with UFC saying, "Look, Jones, you screwed up. You cost DC this fight. You cost us this amount of money. You're still one of the top fighters ever. You're still the top of this division. You are, or you were our interim and undisputed champion. So we'll put you in a position where you can fight for the title, but you have to go to the guy that is actually still here fighting." So I have no problem with that. What I think would be interesting is it's still Rumble Johnson. And as great as Jones is, and as much as I give Jones shit, he's one of the greatest ever, but it's Rumble Johnson.
Yeah.
This is fucking scary for Jones.
I'd laugh when people said the same thing. Like you said, the people that Cormier is scared of Jones, you'd rather fight Johnson. Really? You're scared of one guy? You'd rather fight Rumble Johnson? The guy dropped Glover Teixeira with an uppercut. I thought almost killed the guy.
Is this tooth still in orbit? My God. But yeah, when it comes to a guy with that much power, which we haven't seen we've seen hard hitters, we've seen guys with power before. This Rumble Johnson, the power he's able to generate, and especially in a short distance, he can create some of those punches, is scary for anybody. And Cormier made it through one fight. He may not make it through the next one.
I think Rogan said the best about Rumble. He said he seems to know the little secret on how to knock people out. He knows how to do it right. He knows the little secret, what to do. Because whenever he touches you with that glove, shoot, you're feeling it.
Good God. But yeah, I think I don't disagree with that at all. I think the decision is fair. Plus, I mean, we were all looking forward to the Rumble Johnson and John Jones fight back at UFC 187, I want to say it was. And we didn't get it then. So, I mean, this is an opportunity to get that fight now. I would still favor Jones to win that fight just because it's John Jones. But it would not shock me at all if this fight was ended quickly and violently and destructively.
Yes, I mean he's scary, man. What else can you say? He's just scary.
And I'll tell you what else you can say. You can say he might be the future champion in that division.
Yeah.
And on that note, we are going to wrap it up. I want to thank AJ so much for staying up late with us and going over both of these shows. You can, however you're listening to me here, whether you're listening on iTunes, SoundCloud, Podomatic, the YouTube channel, please make sure you like, subscribe. Check out all the descriptions at the bottom of however platform you listen to. Check out the descriptions. All the good stuff is there. Check out commonmanpodcast.com for all the latest news, articles. I wrote this fantastic CM Punk article. I hate to call it fantastic, but it really was great. And it perfectly describes whatever wrestling or MMA fan you are currently talking to that is so happy CM Punk lost. The explanation's in the article. So please check that out. Hope you guys have had a great weekend. It's Monday. Get back to work. Peace and chicken grease.